Good morning, everyone. We are live on Facebook. Welcome to Inspinar, your 30-minute conversation designed to empower us all with the roadmap for a more peaceful and productive life. I'm your host, Dr. Nidhi Gupta. Today, we are going to talk about nurturing self-esteem and autonomy in children in the digital age. Super important and very complex, nurturing self-esteem and autonomy in children in the digital age. And to talk to us about this, we have a phenomenal stress management coach and a digital wellness coach all the way from Switzerland, Liz Naik. Let me introduce you to Liz Naik. Liz was born in the UK and lives in Switzerland. Her hobbies include walking in nature with her dogs and watching football. Liz is passionate about education, creating awareness and equal opportunities for all. Liz is a stress management coach. She holds a degree in biochemistry and a diploma in digital well-being. Yes, there is a thing called diploma in digital well-being. Liz is also a clinical hypnotherapist and havening techniques practitioner, and I can't wait to hear all about havening techniques today. Combining her various expertise, Liz can offer clients a holistic approach to the management of stress, anxiety, and trauma. By removing deep-seated limiting beliefs, building self-esteem and resilience, clients can grow, excel, and learn to self-regulate their stress and anxiety levels. Liz, welcome to Inspinar.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure, an honor.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you for being here. I am so curious to know about your life story. Tell us all about it. You had a change of career around the age of 50. You became a clinical hypnotherapist and a havening techniques practitioner. What shaped all of that to be the way it is today?
Well, I think I was born I love to solve problems, and that was really what I as a child loved to do, puzzles, and also very sociable and a diplomat. So they were my skills as a child. And biochemistry was the science, has to have a scientific after children were in school, I realized the importance of self-esteem, and I realized that I really didn't have a lot myself, and I thought it was normal my whole life to be with low self-esteem because that was just what I knew. But then when you see your children growing up and having problems, and foreigners in a country not really understanding the system, and bullying and all the things that go with it, I found self-esteem was really important. One child had a problem with addiction to gaming, actually, and also there was peer groups that were in and out of substance abuse too, and we had a psychologist joined our family at home for 6 months. And this was the worst year of my life. And I realized there had to be a better way of solving problems and supporting children than he did. It was really a negative experience. So I went out and was looking online on Mind Valley. I came across Jim Quick, who was a lot into neuroscience, and I loved that. And I found then Marissa Peer and how you could use hypnotherapy to build self-esteem. So there I was, and straight into it. You can react slowly or quickly, and I react really quickly to hypnotherapy. And this was really a great way to learn. On the back of that, I found that addiction, especially to digital technology, was different than to alcohol. And so it didn't really work that well for my child. because it's just totally different, but really different, how it's designed, technology, and how it fixes into your neuroscience in your brain. So I by chance, when I was networking, I found a consciously digital course. I went there to network, and then I thought, this is exactly what I'm looking for, and signed up on the spot and started the course in 2 weeks. And it was 6 months of essays, research papers. And for me, I think I was then 58. It was a huge challenge, but a really, really worthwhile course. And then I wanted to find something that really matched the body and put the body into all things. So I did a stress management course with lots of different tools from lots of different areas, and found eventually a way to connect the body. And this was through havening techniques, where the signals from the body and the brain are taken into account, and from the environment too. So this is where I got to, and I found that I really, really love what I do. And it's like I was always meant to be here.
Wow, you were always meant to be doing what you are doing now.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing how long sometimes it can take us in our life to find out what we are meant to do. Sometimes it can take 50 years to do so. So Liz, you mentioned a point that there are differences between addiction to technology and addiction to alcohol and drugs. There are a lot of similarities as well. So when I talk about these addictions, I talk about the similarities. I'm curious to know, what are some of the differences that you have come across in the two behavior addiction patterns?
Well, the alcohol and drugs, for example, a really addiction to them does tend to stem from trauma. And if you treat the trauma, you can usually treat the addiction. Whereas digital addiction, it's really the same, but there's also the majority of people aren't actually addicted in the same way, but they're dependent on digital technology. This is where just leaving a phone away and not getting the phone isn't the same as addiction to alcohol, but it's this dependency that we're drawn into it by the way that technology is designed. Our brains go onto a pathway of reward that then doesn't work as it's meant to. And so we get drawn into it, and we have, when we feel anxious, we go to the phone, but it makes us feel more anxious or doesn't solve the problem we had. And so it's not truly addiction, but it's effectively the same because we're not doing anything else and we're dependent on it.
We are dependent on it. We are using it as an escape mechanism, which a lot of times people who are addicted to alcohol and drugs probably turn to alcohol and drugs so that they can escape from real life. Alcohol and drugs offer a fantasy world in which there is no pain. So that is the similarity. And you're right, it's the premise is a little bit different. So Liz, why is it so important now that devices are ubiquitous? It's really hard for parents to decide at what age to give devices to children, or how long can they hold off the peer pressure of their child being the only one without devices. What is it about self-esteem and autonomy that parents need to understand in the current generation of digitalized communication? Why is it so important?
It's so important because, when my children were smaller, it was easy. My husband had this idea he could just block out everything because it was possible then. But now you can't, and children are immersed in their school. When they go to school, maybe they don't have books anymore in the school, and they're immersed in digital technology from the moment they go to school or kindergarten, wherever they are. And also they see it in their homes the whole time. So they need to become resilient. And this is the key, is actually being able to manage themselves and have self-resilience when in contact with anything online, to know when to say no, to when to stop, how to control their emotions more, and really to feel safe and confident in what they're doing without parents, without any controls, because no matter what you do in the home, just have to step outside the door or they always find a way around it anyway. So it's point of self-esteem and autonomy. Autonomy is really important for helping children to make good decisions and to have agency and control in what they're doing, and to be able to use their conscious mind to plan things. And whereas self-esteem, it's if people with low self-esteem are very vulnerable online, especially children. They don't like to be different than other ones. And online, you're comparing yourself the whole time. There's self-judgment, and you get drawn into behaving differently online than you would offline to suit your peers. And it's really a downward spiral. There's misinformation about eating habits that make boys and girls behave differently online and have eating problems, as an example. And so it's really important to have self-esteem and autonomy and agency for resilience, to build resilience.
So if a child is introduced to the smartphone and given access to internet, do you think it's fair for us to rely on the child's self-control and motivation and discipline to be able to resist the urge of watching this content? They will invariably come across this content no matter what. The algorithms will kick in. So is it a fair fight that we're putting a little teenager who does not have much self-control anyways, even in the offline world, pitch them against these fantastic content developers who are backed by millions of dollars and are developing content that is designed to keep us glued? How is that even fair?
It's not fair. And also it's something that they really need a support system. And this is a key thing. To have support in the home is one thing, where this is about teaching, having a relationship policy in the home. You can have a time policy, place policy where phones are allowed and not, but it's really the self-esteem and autonomy come into the relationship management and self-management. And so we really need to educate children and awareness to help them react correctly or safely, and to have a good relationship with your parents where it's based on trust, and you can actually go to that parent and express concerns and things that have happened to you or things that you've seen. And having in school awareness too it's key in schools, and there's really not enough, virtually nothing in schools, most schools, to help children, support them and to make those decisions. So it's not fair. And it needs investment in a huge way.
So what role do you think schools can play in this situation? And the reason I ask that is very personal. My children are younger, and as of now, they are not at the age where they can start asking for devices. There is essentially no screen time at home outside of talking to grandparents or cousins over FaceTime. But when they are in school, schools give them a laptop starting 5th grade onwards. How do you navigate that situation? What can you do to help your child understand that the laptop is for work, it's not for entertainment? And what can schools do in this situation?
Well, schools here in Switzerland, every town or every county has different rules about the use of phones or use of technology in schools. So here it's a nightmare, and there's not any one rule that covers everything. So it's really the parents I personally think there needs to be a forum where parents can talk about that with the school. That's a hard ask, but it's something that parents need to fight for, is that opportunity to choose in the school what happens, if phones are allowed in there, the time children spend on that devices. Some schools I know in the UK don't have any books at all from the word go, nothing. And so educating schools is a massive problem, but we need to try to do that for the sake of our children. And the child at home, it's really setting those very, very clear rules at home is what's important. For example, you can have, in Switzerland, half the families are divorced. So even if you had great rules at home, where they go somewhere else and the grandparents are the other person, it's different. But you have to stick to your rules where you are consistently, and the child knows that those are the rules from the word go. And those, it's very, very important to have those rules consistently clear and agreed with the child. And the child, again, it's back to autonomy, has an input on what they can choose to do too. But screen time is something that really needs to be earned. And it's a different way round of looking at it. Leisure screen time. So there's school screen time and leisure screen time. And the two are different. And understanding that and having a clear, you can divide the day into 4. And I think there's one lady who recommends having the screen time for the first part of the day for free. That's what you wake up with screen time. But when the rest of the day, you have to earn it. And very simple ways to earn it. And as you get older, more complicated ways. But the child understands those rules if they're consistent, and the parents have to behave in the same way. There has to be a consistent way and consistent rules, and no phones at the table for everyone. And that is very hard for parents, and often in family work, it's the parents that we start with.
That is so true. Parents need to get a better handle on their own digital wellness before they can start hoping for their children to have better digital wellness. And I completely agree with you that schools need to play a bigger role because children spend a chunk of their time at school. I think right now, technology, laptop, turning all of the education material over into electronic format, I think this is all in the very early stages of how education is done. And it's all very novel. Anything novel is interesting. I hope the novelty wears off soon and the and the bad outcomes start becoming a little bit more apparent to teachers and educators. And I hope that makes them go back to the old-fashioned ways of education, using a paper and a pen, because I personally think children tend to memorize better when they are using a book rather than a sheet of paper or a computer. What do you think, Liz?
Absolutely. It's actually scientifically proven that that's the case, that if you have a book, you have a physical, because we thrive in nature and we're connected to nature with space, and that's what a book offers us. And we can remember a beginning, middle and end in a book, but not so well even if on a flat ebook. It's just how our brains work. So we do remember and learn a lot better when we read from books. But it's not, schools can also offer things like critical thinking. And here they've cut out lots of creative things because of budget cuts, but critical thinking is really essential for children to learn, and being able to navigate the internet, not only social media, but with AI chat things now, what's true and not true, what news things are true and not true. Critical thinking is essential that they can teach in school with or without books. So it would help children in their decisions.
The type of AI tools that are coming on the horizon every day, like you mentioned, ChatGPT is one of those. You ask them a question, they'll give you the answer. Why would there be a need to memorize anything for a child? And I always talk about if you don't use those brain cells, you will lose them. They will atrophy over time.
Use them or lose them. There's also another saying, when the brain moves, the brain grooves. Exercise and movement, you learn so much more. You're outside. But one thing I did want to mention was havening techniques, how you can use those for children. And in a family, you can use them together. And it's basically a psychosensory touch technique. And when you touch certain areas of your body like this, you generate delta waves. And the delta waves, if you don't, that's right, the delta waves generate serotonin, GABA, oxytocin, and calming hormones and amino acids, which calm you down and also open up the creativity, your opportunity, your ability to learn even. But it helps you. You can stop panic attacks by doing this, and you can also do with your hands or even on your face. So children together really love this, and they can do together with family. And so it's a group activity you can do with humming. And so it's a song, favorite activity, even a smell, but a favorite song. And so when a child is alone and they need to build they're afraid or anxious or just feeling not good, they can do this, and it really, and you've got already that memory of your family, the connection there, and you also calm down negative anxiety. It's also good for adults who want to not use their phone. For example, if you want to leave your phone at home and go out in nature for a walk without audio, anything, you can do havening or the hand havening, and it calms you and takes away that feeling of anxiety you have because your phone isn't there. So you don't have to cold turkey without the phone. It's a good replacement. There's also a really fun one that children love. It's called gorilla tapping. And you do quite hard, and it really boosts the hormones and the positive hormones and GABA as well, and has the same effect. And so anytime someone feels like not eating chocolate or not touching the phone, you can do that. But it's not something adults normally like to do in front of other people. Children love to do it too. So
How often and how frequently, like once a day, twice a day, daily, should this be a practice to start seeing some really good effects from havening techniques, Liz?
Well, you normally feel effects relatively quickly. But I would say if you did 10 minutes a day, you would be once a day. It's like replacing, you don't have to replace, but it's the same effect as meditation or mindfulness. And so 10 minutes is more than enough. Or feel just not good. And also, if you feel really good, you can do it and it reinforces that good feeling. So that's the other thing you can do. And really, I wanted to mention too is, especially for small children, is to learn to be alone and to have solitude. And that's something routine, daily routine for children is having time. And you can have an analog clock or something so that they can see that one of these, I think they're hard to find anymore, but where they can see what 5 minutes is, that they're just in that room for 2 or 5 minutes, and without a phone, of course, just to be comfortable with their thoughts.
I think I've lost internet. I'm not sure if you can still hear me. Okay, there you go. Okay. I think I lost my internet for the last 10 seconds, but I'm back now.
Good. So,
awesome, great, perfect. Those are very practical techniques. And taking a leaf from one of our previous speakers, who is also here as in the audience today, Colin talked about digital detox snacking, right? So when I think about digital detox snacking, the concept is you're looking away from the screens, you're walking away from all screens for a little bit. And during that time, not picking up your phone to fill that time, right? Looking away from the computer screen, but also looking away from the phone. That is really hard for a majority of people to do. So including havening technique in that time frame when you are practicing digital detox snack, where your hands are actually free and are not always curved to hold a phone, just do something else with your hands. Rub your face with your hands, give yourself a nice little rub, a nice little massage. The way Liz showed might make a big difference to your well-being when you come back to work after the snack is over. This is fantastic, Liz. Thank you for sharing this. I've never heard of this before, and I'm sure this is going to be immensely helpful.
You're welcome.
So we are coming to the end of our episode today, Liz. What would you like to say as a parting message to our audience?
I think a key thing is really the parents really need to be really strong and proactive in terms of the education of the children and what's taught there and how it's taught, even if it's an uphill battle. It's like a wall in front of you, but it's really, really critical. And at home, having consistent rules for parents and children, and having that opportunity for children to have a trust relationship with the parent is so key, in that they can talk to, especially for teenagers, they can talk to their parents about anything in issues in the internet without punishment. So that would be it, really.
Yes, parenting is hard. Parenting was never easy, but now it has become harder with this new dimension of digital devices that has been introduced. Parents, I think, would really benefit from finding other like-minded parents who are raising their children without much exposure to social media, without much exposure to digital devices through teenage years, through adolescent years, and hopefully wait until the kids are 18 or older before they get their full access to social media. So thank you. Setting rules for parents and children is very important. Rules cannot be set only for children. Rules need to be set for parents and children. Awesome. Thank you, Liz. Thank you for joining us on Inspinar today. Thank you for sharing your expertise. Thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it. I would close today's episode with our closing message. Let's reconnect with what truly matters. Let's reconnect with real life. Let's reconnect with health, joy, and efficiency. Let's ungrip devices and grip life. I will see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you very much.